Hey everyone, welcome to UNIQUEWAYS with Thomas Girard, a more than audio podcast. We're here in the Cambia Village podcast recording studio with a really great guest. She's an independent designer and educator based in New York City. Her practice and research explores the intersection of culture, identity, equity, and risograph printing within the field of design. And she's currently an assistant professor of communications design at Parsons School of Design in New York City. Please join me in welcoming Elaine Lopez. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are you ready for 20 questions?
Yeah.
Great. Question 1, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
So like you mentioned, I'm a professor of communication design at Parsons School of Design in New York. Outside of that, I run my own practice, so an independent studio called Low Press, where I work with different cultural institutions and educational institutions, and other folks too, whatever work comes my way. And I try to fold in reso printing within client work as much as possible. So sometimes that looks like posters to promote events or exhibitions, different things like that. But I also work on websites or other digital work as well.
Great. And enough for you guys. Please check out our last episode if you're interested in communications design and publishing. We had Ansel on, who runs a student-run publication here in Vancouver. So question 2, what's a key piece of knowledge that makes you different?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess within the context of design, I've worn many hats over the years. So before entering academia, I worked in industry for about 10 years in Chicago, started in pharmaceutical marketing, and then moved into point of purchase, like advertising. I don't know if I shared this last time. I know we've done this before, so now I'm trying to think if this was the same answer. But did a little bit of human-centered design for social impact. So a lot of different hats within design. And so I think that certainly helps me as an educator to be able to bring that experience and knowledge to my students.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. One more thing that just came to mind is on the audio podcast, we had a recent New York City episode with Tobias Freer-Jones. So please check that episode out. Question 3, why this of all things? Why do you do what you do?
At this point, I'm in too deep. I studied graphic design in undergrad and built, a career within this field over many years. So I think it just sort of worked out in the way it was supposed to. I was interested in art as a child, as I'm sure many designers are, and just found design to be more practical. And I also feel like within design, there's so many different things one can do. So, like I mentioned, I've done a lot of things within design, and I feel like I continue to do things. So I think that's one reason why I'm still doing this and why I've sort of done it so long, is that it is sort of a really versatile field. And if you get bored of one thing, you could always like pivot and work in something else within design.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because you're saying you kind of fell into design, but you did your master's at RISD, which is like one of the top design schools in the world, right?
Yeah.
So, you must have fallen in a really good way.
So I mentioned I worked for a long time, and at some point I think in my early 30s, I thought, I want to go to grad school and let me just give this a shot. I'm not getting any younger, so I applied to a couple of different programs. Not really knowing, in hindsight, I really didn't know what I was doing, and when I was applying to programs, I just kind of thought I'd give it a shot and see what shook out. I think part of the reason I did that too was in order to be able to teach full time. So I had been teaching at the Chicago Portfolio School for a little while. And I thought, having an MFA would allow me to teach, at an institution. So applied to a bunch of programs and visited a lot of them. I think that was actually a really important part. Visited all the places I did get interviews in, RISD being one of them, and was really just like, first of all, surprised that they wanted to interview me. I remember being like shocked that, And then when I did attend my interview, like they were very thoughtful in their questions. Like it really seemed like they wanted me to be there, and also the culture of the studio and the people there. I just kind of knew right away that that's where I wanted to spend time, and it was a really transformative experience. Like it changed, it opened up a whole new world of design for me, that I then now get to practice, and so I think, I got in, but I also, again, it was a surprise to me just because I think, when you work in industry, you work as part of teams. You're not really sure like if the work you're doing is necessarily like going to be suited to an MFA program or accepted by that sort of world. And I think I got lucky in that it did. So,
Well, congrats to that.
Thanks.
So question 4, what does your future look like?
Well, I'm not quite sure. So I'm actually right now at the start of a sabbatical for 1 year from teaching. So I'm kind of really open right now to, again, like looking at what's happening in the design field. And I think we're in a really interesting moment, obviously, with AI and all of the changes that are happening. So I hope to spend some time this year delving into that a little bit and seeing what it means to be a designer today, so that I could hopefully bring that back to students.
Great. So we're here in Vancouver, and Elaine is in town from New York. So the question is, let's talk about location. How does the notion of place play into what you do?
Yeah, I've lived in a lot of places too. I think that's, back to your other question, something that makes me different is that I started my career, well, I studied in Florida, at the University of Florida. That's where I learned design, and then lived in Chicago for many years, and I think that influenced the type of work I did there, especially because I was working in industry, and the industry in Chicago is what it is. I think the industry in a lot of different places and cities sort of influences what you do. So I think that's why I was working in marketing and advertising and that type of work. Also delved into social impact, because that is a pretty important aspect of Chicago. I think people there are very socially conscious. And then I would say, going to Providence completely changed, what I thought design was, and being in that environment and that place shaped me pretty significantly. And after that, I was in Philadelphia for about 4 years, which I was working independently. So I think that I was working independently and then commuting to teach to a couple of other cities like Baltimore and then to New York. And so I think that was a period of a little bit of displacement where I didn't feel like I was neither here nor there, but did develop, some relationships with clients in Philadelphia, primarily at the University of Pennsylvania. And I still work with those folks. And now that I've been in Chicago or in New York for about 2 years, that I think has definitely influenced my practice, just because of the people you meet when you're in that environment. There's just so many cool people in New York and so many interesting things happening that I think that has started to shape, how I think about design.
Great. So 6, you're starting from the beginning. What advice do you give your former younger self?
I think it's probably the same advice I gave her last time we spoke. Thinking about just patience, right? Yeah. That I think at first when one is starting in this industry, or in any industry, maybe you think you need to be at a certain level, but I think everything kind of comes in due time. And obviously one has to listen to like how one is feeling in certain jobs or environments, but just sitting with things, being patient, learning, and playing things out, I think is really, I think a bit of advice I needed when I was younger.
Great. 7, a day in your life. What's a day in your life like?
When I'm teaching, I mean, I'll usually, wake up and get ready, go teach class, and then have meetings, with students and our clients, sometimes on Zoom. And then head back home. Sometimes when I have my dog, like walk her, maybe watch some TV. So those are pretty average days. Or if I'm working from home, it usually looks like work, interspersed with a couple of Zoom calls and more work, and than maybe meeting up with friends or trying to do stuff in the city.
Good. Number 8, lifelong learning is a popular topic. How do you stay up to date?
Yeah, I think being in academia certainly helps a lot, right? You constantly are learning from your students. You're sort of forced to learn as part of, not forced, but I mean, it is part of teaching, is to be up to date on what's going on and bringing that back to students. And so I feel like I'm certainly always learning within academia. I think it's one of the things I like the most about being a professor, that it sort of keeps that very top of mind. And especially I'm tenure track now, so even more so, I think I'm encouraged to take classes or just continue to build up my skills.
Great. So 9 is about tools. Can you talk about your use of digital and or analog tools?
Yeah, I use the basics. The Adobe Creative Suite, Figma now has become a pretty big tool that I use more heavily than I used to. And obviously the Rezo, I think, is a quasi-analog tool, depending on some of them have screens, so I guess that makes it less analog, but it is pretty analog as a machine, very physical, which is great. I actually think that's why it's so popular with students, and one of the reasons why I like it is that it is just a really tactile tool that helps to balance like the use of the computer that I think design has it's such a big part of being a designer is being online.
Yeah, for sure. So you talked a bit about this, but work-life balance, life-work balance, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I've become a lot more mindful of that, and have really prioritized having more balance, I think. And I think the world too is sort of leaning more towards that, like having us. I think the period of like overwork and girl bossing and leaning in and all of that has sort of fallen away a bit, I think, because we hopefully all realize that's not very healthy. And so, yeah, I try to, balance work and life as much as possible by making sure I have a life outside of work. And I think that's really important, and has been much healthier for me than I think moments where I was working a lot. Having said that, there are times where a lot of things stack up and you're quite busy. This being one of those times, like even though I'm in a sabbatical, I feel like I have a lot of projects going on, and hasn't felt very restful lately.
Okay, and if you weren't doing what you do now, what might you be doing?
I think last time I said pressure washing stuff. That would be fun. I don't know. Again, to the question of analog and digital, I think we're all craving some more like natural or like physical experiences. So something like that. Also maybe like hairdresser would be fun. I feel like I've always thought that's like the perfect job, because it's very portable. You're helping people like feel better. It's all you need is scissors. It's like a cool job. You get to stand. You're like not sitting all day, and you build relationships with people over time. So I've thought that's like the perfect job, and I don't think AI can really replace that. So they should be pretty safe. And most people have hair, and like need some sort of grooming. So yeah.
What would you not like to do with your career?
That's a good question. I don't know. That is a really good question.
This was a skip last time, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't remember answering it.
Yeah.
That's tough. It's a tough question for me, I think, because I have done so much within this field of design or with my career. So I feel like I like to think I'm pretty open to things. I think lately there's, again, going back to AI, there's a lot of like chatter, curiosity, also a lot of negative, like students really don't like it, but I also think it's just an interesting new medium. So I'm not necessarily like morally opposed to it as much as perhaps some folks are. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be pretty open to trying most things. I don't know if there's anything I really wouldn't want to do at this point.
Great. Do you have a favorite word, quote, or sentence?
I don't know if I mentioned the Charles and Ray Eames quote last time. Did I? I can't remember.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, it's about hospitality and design, or just like the role of designer is that of being a good host and anticipating the needs of the user. I think I really liked that quote when I first heard it. It was probably while I was a student a long time ago, and I think I still believe that. I think, you know, being a designer is really about like helping people either understand the concept or, you know, use something better. And so I think that's one of my favorite quotes related to design.
Great. And then the least favorite word, quote, or sentence?
Yeah. Oh. That's also a good question. Least favorite word, quote, or sentence.
People often pick like buzzwords or trendy words, but everybody's different, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I feel like everything has its time and place, but like, and as far as buzzwords go lately, I'm not sure. Yeah, we're gonna have to skip this one. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head at the moment.
Okay, so you're choosing one word to describe yourself. What word do you choose? And you picked 2 words last time, if I remember.
I did. Oh, and what were they? I don't remember. I should have re-listened so I didn't repeat myself. I don't know. I guess right now I would say optimistic, which is like a surprising word, perhaps at this moment where everything feels a little bit daunting. But
that's a good one.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm feeling optimistic at the moment.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. What keeps you up at night?
Currently, the lecture I'm supposed to give tomorrow. I've been working on. Yeah, you know how it is. You're presenting tomorrow as well.
I am,
yeah.
but you're in the big room. You're in the nice room.
Is it? Yeah. It's different than where the conference has been the past 2 days, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to expect. I think that's kept me up too, because I have no idea, you know, the context of it, and I think I keep working on it, but then working on lectures is very like stressful, and like I procrastinate and go back and change and tweak, and so that's definitely kept me up at night this week. It's just like making sure that gets complete and that it'll be successful tomorrow. But you know, sometimes projects and things I have to certainly keep me up at night.
Great. And do you have a dream you're chasing? Do you have a dream you're chasing?
Dream. I don't know. It sounds weird. I don't know. Being like wealthy or very financially secure. I don't know if that's a dream per se, but
yeah.
I found design, I mean, as great as design is, I think financially it can still be a little bit challenging, especially these days in comparison to other types of jobs. Or, you know, many jobs within design, there's just such a range, right? Like, you know, you can make very little and you can make a lot. And I think figuring out the right salary would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, to expand on that, if I remember correctly, you chose design in part because it's a financially stable route, right? So,
yeah. In comparison to other art paths,
right?
You know, but also when you just compare design to other career options, then it's like a little bit, then you wonder. And I think, you know, I even think now with AI that it actually is maybe, I think we're going to be okay. I think design is going to be okay because it is so much about thinking and problem solving and like relations with people that I don't think like AI will fully be able to replace that. And if anything, it'll make it more valuable because it is something that requires creativity and human, you know, dialogue, conversation. Just like there's a lot of touch points that really can't fully be automated. So,
Okay, last few here. Number 18. What inspires you?
I think my students inspire me a lot. Like they're really just talented, and it's really cool to see like how they're able to learn a lot of new skills and apply them so quickly, right? Because an education is not that long, especially when you've had like a long career. It's just really heartening to see that people can pick up skills and do stuff. And I think for me that's really inspiring, because as any new software thing in design becomes popular, it's like, well, I can learn that too, because these folks just learned it and they can do it, I can do it. So I find I get a lot of inspiration from them.
Great. 19, advice. Any advice you'd like to share?
I don't know. Yeah, I think keep going and just like do a thing and try to enjoy the process as much as the outcome. I think that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is like being mindful of the process that work gets made under and the conditions, like so that when the project is said and done, you can think about it fondly, or if someone like compliments, like, oh, that's really cool, you can say like, yeah, it was really fun making it, versus like, I think what can happen a lot of times is like someone will compliment a project or something, you're like, ugh, you just think about the experience, and if it was painful, like it's like, yeah. I feel like I find myself like not wanting to talk about it or dismissing it. So I would say like the process within design is just as important as the outcome, and also relationships within design, like relationships with collaborators, with clients, like with all of the people around you, to me are so much more important and kind of like the best part of design, again, more so than the final output.
Right. Great. And finally, number 20, how can our listeners keep tabs on you, and what's our call to action?
Yeah, I am on Instagram at elopez12, LinkedIn. I don't really have a call to action at the moment. Like I said, I'm entering this sabbatical. Maybe reach out. That could be a good call to action if you want to collaborate or have cool ideas. I think I'm really open in this next year to seeing what new opportunities are available and where this field goes.
Great. So we got through 20. That is so great. Like that you're in town and we're able to record in person here. We're starting to have some legs with the in-person show, so it's super exciting to expand in this way and bring New York City in, and bring you in is a real treat for us. So much gratitude for you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks.